Hi, so I'm Paul. I run Pandemonium Miniatures. It's a painting service, modelling service. My current project is to build and paint a squadron of 9 of the ForgeWorld Eldar Hornets. I'm most of the way through the project, and I've built 7 of them. So what I thought I'd do is make a quick video showing you the process of building one of the kits. Okay. So the kit comes in quite fewer parts than a plastic kit would, and in fact the main chassis is all one piece. The main cleanup issues are that there's a membrane of resin just in between the wings and the support post here that just needs to come away, and there are also support posts here. What I decided I would do is keep the main support post here on till the very end, until it's all finished painted, because it just gives me something to hold on to safely, so I don't risk smudging any paint and I don't have the awkwardness of anything stuck to the bottom that would need repainting afterwards. So first things first is the cleanup. So I've already soaked all of these parts in soapy water and given them a good scrub to get rid of any residue left over from the moulding process. So it's just a case now of using my flush cuts to clip away all of the support posts, apart from that central one. Just clipping in right into the edge of the model itself, so you can be very accurate. There we are. And then we've got a support post on the edge here that just need clipping away. Now this membrane I mentioned, it's actually quite papery, it's very thin, so it can just be eased away with a thumbnail with not really much need for any cutting. It's been variable. Some of the other kits have been a bit thicker, so they've needed a bit of persuasion with a knife as well. So that comes away pretty much in one piece. You can see there's a few feathery bits just left over, so all I'm going to do there is take my scalpel and just go around gently and trim that away. Like that. One last little bit. And then finally, I'm going to get my half round needle file and just give it a very gentle scrape, just to get rid of any last little bits of flash. There we go. So I'm going to go all the way around the model doing this as well. You can see there's a little bit of support right on the edge here, so you just need to be very, very careful nipping that away so you don't actually wreck any of the model itself. Like that. And there's also little feathery bits of resin just in there. They can just be filed away. So I'll pause the video while I just continue around the rest of the model, and then I'll rejoin you at the next stage where I'll be starting to build. Alright, so that's all cleaned up now, and you can see that I've been working on two at the same time. These are the final two of the set, so it's just good to get them done. And then I can get all 9 models primed and ready a bit later. So the next piece to add, you've got the engine intake, which goes on the bottom. So it's got a post that just needs removing. The other bit that needs removing are these little triangular supports, because if you don't take those out, it's not going to glue flat against the chassis. So it's just a case of clipping this out. I'm going to keep these, I think, because they'll make decent tank traps and things like that. I expect other people do that too. So I'm just going to use the flush cutters to clip out one side of the triangle. Oh, one of them just came out, which is quite nice. And because of the angle, I can't really get the cutters in properly, so I'm just going to shave those away with the scalpel. And then to get it perfectly flat, I'm just going to use the file, scrape away the remnants. So this is the surface to be glued. It's fairly flat. It should go all right, but just to make sure, I'm going to score the surface just to give the glue something to key into, because the larger the surface area, the better the bond. And that's the case with most, if not all, things. So I'm using super glue. This is quite a it's not quite super glue gel, but it is a viscous super glue that doesn't flow too much, and it's easy to control. So I'm gluing both surfaces, and then that goes in place there quite snugly. Just do the other one as well. That needs to be flat, so I'll just file it away. You can see that the pieces themselves are remarkably clean. There's very little clean up or filling in of holes or anything like that that you might expect from a resin kit. I've been quite impressed. And it all fits together very nicely, actually. There we are. So the next pieces to add, well, you could do this in any order really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the stabilizing fins. So we've got left and right. And again, they don't need much cleanup, they really just need clipping away from the support. And just a little bit of filing. On those edges. isn't it? Good. Now, those attach here, and they pretty much just plug in. It's a really, really snug join. So you almost kind of screw it into place, and it's not going to go anywhere. So it's just a case of when you place it to make sure that they're even and symmetrical. Let's have a look at those. Yeah, there we are. Looking good. Just do the other one. Temptation to make zooming noises as you do these because they're very dynamic. There we go. Let's clean this one up. Did I do that one? Yeah, cool. A couple of these, it doesn't feel like they're going to fit, but then if it, just a little bit of persuasion and they sit in quite nicely. Oh, that just popped on. There we are. And again, you want them fairly symmetrical. I mean, I suppose if one was a little bit uneven, it would just represent it just trying to stabilize itself. There we are. There is a pilot, of course, but the plan for painting these is that the canopies will be opaque, so I'm actually going to just glue those straight on and then paint over the top. So there's very little point in sticking the pilot in place because he's just not going to be used. So I'll leave him out. The next pieces we've got are we've got some vector stabilizers, these thrusters. They go in underneath the chassis. They're like little nozzles. Just unclip both sets while I'm here. So they'll just need a little bit of a file down just to make sure you've got a nice flat surface, because all of that is the gluing area. And they just sit on those little nubs there. Great. So we've also got the thrust, the main thruster that goes on the back of the engine there. So I'm just going to trim away the remnants of the support there, just to get it nice and flat. And then glue those in place. So you can see it's got a shape that corresponds to the shape here, so there's not really any mistakes to be made there. Stay. Very good. Great. All right. So the last bit really is the weapon mounting. Now these are quite fiddly little bits, and the decision I came to with these was that it's easier, sounds fiddly but it's not, it's easier to drill and pin these in place. The reason being is that all the weapon options are going to magnetize. So ordinarily the Bright Lance, the standard weapon, would be attached just on this peg. Okay, so I'm actually going to, once these are on, I'm going to trim the pegs off and put magnets in instead, and put a magnet in the weapon. The kit also is supplied with a plastic sprue with all of the other weapon options, so I'm going to magnetize all of those too. So we'll go through that shortly. So what I'm going to do is just trim these off. And then to locate the center, I'm actually using an old compass, just using the point, find the center, pierce it, and then that gives me a location point for the drill bit to go into, and I can be fairly confident that it's not going to slide off and go off center or break through or anything like that. So just drilling in. Now I don't really need to drill very far here. It's literally just deep enough for the wire pin to bed itself in, just to create a stronger join. The other reason for not going too deep is that I'm going to be drilling in from the other side, and there's a very small piece, so I don't want the two holes to meet up in the middle. To be honest, even if I wasn't magnetizing, I'd be inclined to drill and pin these little bits anyway, because there's not very much surface for them to glue with, and I can just see them pinging off fairly easily. There we are. So I'm just going to use paper clip wire here. So I've got some side cutters. No, not my flush cutters, because that would just kill them. So I'm just going to cut short lengths. Get rid of the curly bit. There we are. carefully put a blob of glue on the end of the wire there, and then pop that into the drill hole. And you're pushing down a little bit. There we are. Last one. There we are. Right, those are a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim these down a little bit. So on the body of the vehicle, I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm just going to locate the center hole with the compass point. Just drill in. Now the depth of the drill here, I can go as deep as I want really, because it's a solid chunk of resin. You don't need to really put any pressure on the drill for this. It's soft enough material that it drills out quite easily. There we are. And then I'll just glue those little posts in place. Definitely easier to do it this way, because if you don't pin, they're just going to be dropping out every 5 seconds until the glue cures, which is just irritating. There we are. That's the first time I've actually got glue on my fingers in the whole process. It's a pretty good go. Okay, so with those in place, as I say, I'm now just going to cut these posts off. I kept them on because it was just something to hold on to just now, but I'm just going to trim those away. And again with the compass point, I'm going to locate the centre. And then I'm just going to drill a fairly shallow pilot hole here. Because I'm going to be using a larger drill bit to mill out a hole for the magnet. And doing that pilot first means that I can be very sure that I'll get it central and it won't break out on the edges. There we go. So I'm just going to change over drill bits now. So I've got a double-ended pin vise, and it's got a bigger adapter on this end. Technically it's not supposed to accommodate a 3mm drill bit, but it still works. So just going to clamp that in. So it's a 3mm drill bit, and that matches the dimensions of the magnets I'm using. So I'm not going to drill down very far here. I'm really effectively just creating a cup which the magnet will sit in. So just a few gentle twists of the drill. It's a Black & Decker drill, and it's fairly sharp. Doesn't take a lot of pressure to drill down into the material. There we are. Let's do the next one. So you can see that as ForgeWorld kits go, these aren't too bad, and they're reasonably quick to assemble. Certainly quicker than the equivalent plastic kit would be, I would have thought. I mean, even with the video pause time, I've done these two kits easily within half an hour so far. Just spotted a little bit, it needs cleaning off of the back fin here. That's it. Right. So those are drilled in. So then it's a case of putting some glue in. And then I can insert the magnets. Now this is fairly stress-free, honestly. So what I've got is I've got my column of magnets, and I'm keeping them in a column. Don't try and separate them out and mount them in with tweezers or whatever. That's just hassle. Keep them as a column and use the column as a tool. I've got a paper clip on one end just to tell me which end is which. So this end is the end that always goes into the body of the vehicle. The other end is the end that always goes into the body of the weapon. And that way I know, I can be absolutely confident that all of the magnet points are going to match. So it's just a case of using the column of the magnets as the tool that you use to push the magnet into the hole you created with the drill, and then slide them away. and then it's in. Really stress-free. Before I worked out how to do it this way, I was swearing and cursing quite a lot when I was doing magnets. Make sure that's straight. There we are. Good. So I'm going to put the paper clip on the other end now, and then that's the end that I'm going to use for the weapons in a minute. So with the weapons, they've just got support posts to just clip off of the ends, and there's 2 resin bright lances as standard. Now these, this one's fairly straight actually, but they tended to go a little bit curved like bananas, so I dipped them in boiling water and straightened them out, which worked for most of them. There's a couple where I'll need to do it again, but it's not too much bother. It's honestly, it's the work of a couple of seconds to do that. There are also a few feathery bits that just need trimming away there, and on some of them, although not this one, you get a little ridge of flash along the inside edge of the piping, which just needs trimming away, but this one's actually quite clean. Yeah, this one has got that ridge, so that just needs trimming away. But that's fairly quick to do. There we are. Just trim out the last one. So the weapons are opposing one another, so you just want to turn them so that they're mirroring each other, and then that lets you know where you're drilling. And all I'm really doing here is enlarging the existing hole. I'm not going all the way through, halfway, just a few twists will do it. There we are. Put some glue in. Get my fingers out of the way. And then again, using that row of magnets as a tool to push the magnet into place and slide the rest of them away. There we are, all done. Let's put the magnets back in the box. I need to get some more of these, I'm running out. So the very last bit of construction now is to add the canopy. And as I say, that's going to be opaque, so I don't need to worry too much about it fogging up or anything like that. So they're the standard clear canopies that you get with all Aeldari vehicle kits. The only difference is that the resin kit doesn't have the accommodation for the hinge, so you need to trim the hinge away completely in order to fit it on. And there's just a little bit of a mould line always on the front edge, and sometimes the two rear sides that need trimming away, otherwise it's not going to glue flat. So to give you some idea of how those will look when they're painted, I'll show you the wraiths here. That I've done for this army. They're Ilkaith Craftworld, and I've gone for a kind of a glossy visor look for the helmet on this, and I'm going to try and replicate that look for the canopies on these. So I'm going to glue these in place. So I'm going to use super glue, and what will happen is it will frost up, because super glue and clear plastic don't really like each other. So you can see on the one that I finished, it's all frosted up on the inside. Again, it doesn't matter because I'm going to be painting them, but if you are keeping your canopies clear, the best way to glue them on is with some PVA, because the PVA itself will dry clear and you won't have any of that issue of fogging up. So I'm using a piece of blue tack to grip the visor, the canopy rather, put it in place, and then just gently twisting the blue tack away, and then it's in place. And then I don't have any of that trauma of getting fingerprints all over the clear canopy that I would then have to try and scrape away with a knife. There we are. Oh, no, not quite. All right then. Cool. All right. So that's those. I'll just mount the weapons on. You can see the finished piece constructed. Cool. So they're on. And so are they. So I'm also going to magnetize all the weapons in a similar way, and it's probably easiest, to be honest, to just drill them while they're on the sprue and stick all the magnets on, and then clip them off the sprue afterwards. The option that they give you as well is to use the plastic weapon casing here on the bright lances, so I'll add those on shortly. But you can see that it's a very nice kit to put together, and yeah, I think they're going to look really smart when they're painted. So I might put a video together about the painting process. We'll see. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. I'm putting all the links to my pages at the bottom of the video. Please click like and subscribe. I don't make videos very often, but hopefully the ones I do are useful. All right, thank you. Bye.